Hey, what's up, fellas? How you doing, man? Antonelli here.
Hey, what's going on, guys? How we doing, man? Antonelli here. So I wanted to talk a little bit of some sign stealing today, and I want to get into what a lot of Astros fans have been commenting on my channel. A lot of them will say, well, it's the other team's fault for getting your signs stolen, because if you don't want them stolen, then do a better job of disguising them. Switch up your signs. Make it more cryptic. And so I want to talk about a couple things. But we're going to go into how teams make their signs cryptic, how they try to make sure that teams don't steal them, and why, in this case, just saying, hey, it's your fault for getting them stolen isn't valid. Let's get into it. First, I want to start out with this. Catchers, teams, they're used to teams stealing signs pretty much one way. There's a couple of ways, but let's just go over how teams are used to having to defend against their signs getting stolen, okay? So the biggest way is with a man on second, okay? So I know we've talked about this a little bit before, but if you've never seen our channel and this is your first video, or maybe you just don't know, the way that signs have always been stolen, or teams try to steal signs, which is legal, is when they get to second base, they can see the catcher signs, right? And so the catcher's going to give multiple signs. So when there's just a man on first, or just a man on third, or just or nobody on, it's always one sign. Okay, that's how it's always been. One sign. One's a fastball, two's a curveball, three's a slider, wiggle's a changeup. I mean, it can be different. It varies, but that's typically what happens. Okay, so you're always going to do one sign when there's not someone on second base. Okay, why is that? Because no one else can see your signs. As long as catchers are taught to have your knees closed enough so that the first base coach and the third base coach, and if there's a runner on first, they're trying to not let them see it. So they keep their knees closed and they just give one sign, okay? So just keep that in mind first. That's the way the game's always been. At every level I've ever played at, whether it was high school, college, pro ball, or major leagues, when there's nobody on second, doesn't matter if there's a man on first or a man on third or nobody on, it's one sign because there's no one that can see the signs, okay? So first keep that in mind. Now, when there's a man on second, that's when the multiple signs come out. So multiple signs is going to be just more than one sign. Usually it's like 5 or 6 signs. So it'll look like this. Now I'm going to do it up here so you can see, but they do it between their legs. Okay? That's usually what it's going to look like. That's one way. Another way can be body touches. All right? So, or a combination of both. Sometimes you'll see body touches, and then they'll go down and give the numbers down low, okay? So when they're doing that, that's their way of disguising it, okay? So a runner at second can't figure that out. Now, when you're at second base, you know this is going to happen. So what are you doing at second base when you're looking at the signs? You're trying to figure out what system they're using. Now, the systems can vary in a bunch of different ways. I'm not going to go over all of them, but you could have all types of systems, okay? There's millions of different ways to do it. It can be the first sign, the second sign, the third sign, the fourth sign, the fifth sign. You can switch it up every inning. You can do the sign after a certain sign. So maybe it's the sign after 2. Maybe it's sign after 3, sign after 1. There's a bajillion ways, okay? Sometimes it'll switch every inning or with the outs. So if there's 1 out, it's the first sign. If there's 2 outs, it's the second sign. There's literally, you could have 1,000 different ways to do it, okay? And that is supposed to not let the man on second know the sign. But again, if you're the runner on second, you're trying to figure out the signs. And there's a lot of times when you're on second base, it might take you a little while, but eventually you can figure it out. And when you figure it out, usually you'll come in and you'll tell the team, hey guys, they're using the third sign, or they're using the first sign, or whatever it is. And then the next time someone gets out to second base, they know, okay, they were using the second sign. Let's see. And if they see right away that it goes 2, 1, 3, 3, wiggle, and they throw a fastball, then you go, okay, it looks like the second sign. And then you can start relaying the signs in and letting the hitter know what pitch is coming. So this is how it's always worked, okay? And that's how teams are used to trying to defend it. And if you notice, as a team, you're watching the runner. Usually as a catcher, you're looking at the runner. The bench is looking at the runner. And if you see something fishy going on where it looks like someone's signaling, you call time, you run out there, and you switch the sign system up. So now, with that being said, here's the thing. The Astros were cheating in a few different ways. So one, obviously, they have a camera, okay? So they could steal signs from a catcher no matter who's on base. So here's the thing. Teams are not used to, right? Before you know the Astros are stealing signs, you're not used to having to give multiple signs with a man on first or with a man on third with no one up. So you're just sitting up there and going one, and you have no clue that they're stealing signs. But you're not going to think they're stealing signs because who would think, oh, they've got a camera in center field and they're stealing our signs and relaying it in? Like, usually you wouldn't do that. Now, eventually, teams started to realize this and got really paranoid. Whether it was Fiers telling his teammates when he left the Astros, or just teams realizing, I've heard catchers say they went home and they're looking at videos with their coaches and going, guys, there's something going on. They have our signs. They're trying to figure out what the hell's going on because they're hammering all these pitchers. It just looks like they're stealing signs. They couldn't figure out how they're doing it, but they just knew. They got them somehow, right? So, but before any of that, you're not used to having to defend against no runners on or just a man on first or a man on third, okay? So that's the first thing when people are like, just change your sign setup. Well, we're not going to do that if there's not a guy at second base, okay? So that's the first thing. The second thing is they're also using that system Codebreaker. So what they're doing is they're able to take the sign system that you have, right? So they can go look at the video. They can look at past games and they can look live, and they can punch in the system, right? They'll punch the numbers. So let's say the catcher goes 2, 1, 3, 3, 2, 1, 3. And the next time they go 3, 3, 2, 1, 3, whatever. Well, they have an algorithm that they punch those numbers in, and very quickly it'll tell you the system. And so then they can figure out, okay, what systems do this team like to use? So now they can figure out, okay, they really like to use second sign or fourth sign or sign after the 3 or whatever. They're able to figure that out now really fast without the runner having to be out there trying to figure it out while he's trying to play the game. They're using an algorithm. And now once they figure out the signs, now they have a really good idea going into the game, okay, these are the systems they like to use. So they can look for that. But they can also, while they're looking at the live game footage, they can plug in to the algorithm, boom, 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 boom. Okay, guys, boom, they're going third sign or whatever it is. They just figured it out super quickly by using an algorithm. And now they relay quick, whether they go to the guy at second or they just start banging on a trash can. So you can try to switch up your signs, but the algorithm is going to be pretty smart and it's going to figure it out super fast. You can just keep trying to switch them up, but you can never escape it, okay? And so we've heard players say that they started to switch up signs every hitter and sometimes pitch to pitch. Now that's getting outrageous. And I saw some footage. I'm going to put up a video of this. It was the Oakland A's playing against the Astros. I'm going to make another video on it because it's a long video. It's going to be a long video. Where it was taking a minute in between pitches because the A's knew that the Astros were stealing signs. So they're going through body touches. It took who was catching? Was it Lucroy? I think it might have been. It took him 10 seconds to go through the signs. 10 seconds. He went through a bunch of body signs. Then he flashed a bunch of numbers. Correa's up at bat. It's taking 10 seconds. The hitter doesn't like to just stand there. Hitter calls time. Okay, time. Now the hitter gets back in. Now Lucroy goes back through all of his touches. Correa doesn't like sitting there. He calls time. Calls time. Time again. Now Lucroy goes through all of his touches. It took 60 seconds to get a pitch thrown. So you might say like, yeah, guys, if you don't want it stolen, then switch up your signs. If it's going to take 60 seconds to throw a pitch, is that fun for the fan? Is that fun for anyone? Like, we can't play baseball that slow. You can't have a minute in between every pitch. The game's going to take 7 hours long. People are already pissed off that the games take too long. So, 1, it's going to slow the game down a ton, okay? 2, it's really hard to defend it when teams are using algorithms and cameras. Okay, you can try to defend it as much as you want, but they can still figure out ways to steal the signs way quicker because they're using technology. 3, you weren't expecting anyone to be able to steal signs when there wasn't a runner on second base. You didn't feel like you had to guard signs. Like I said, I played a long time baseball. I've never, ever, ever, ever had anyone give multiple signs when there wasn't a man on second base because no one thought that anyone had a camera up and was trying to steal signs. So you're not going to try to defend it. And the Astros were stealing signs without men on second base because they had a camera. So hopefully that makes sense to everyone that says it's the team's fault for not hiding the signs better. They were trying to hide the signs. Eventually, they were really trying to hide the signs to the point where, like I said, the game's really slowed down. We're going to have a video coming out soon that really goes into how much longer pitchers were stalling, how much longer it was taking for games to be played, the pace of the games. When teams started to realize the Astros were stealing signs, when they went in to play games at Houston, the game started to drag to a crawl because they were so paranoid. Guys were switching up signs, they were stepping off. It was kind of getting ridiculous. So we need something new to go to, whether it's a headset in, the pitching coaches got a headset or a microphone, just like they do an offensive coordinator, and they're going to say, hey, fastball to the catcher and to the pitcher, and then the pitcher can either say yes, or maybe, we go back to, that's the first sign, but then we go back to a brush system where if the pitching coach says fastball and I want a curveball, I can brush on my chest, and that means we go +1 up to a curveball, or we do it twice, we go up to a slider. I'm not going to get into that whole system right now, but there's a couple other ways that you can do it, but I think we probably have to go to some type of headset thing to just make the game go faster, because nobody wants to see the catcher do this for 10 seconds and then have the hitter call time and go through it again and again and again. I don't think any fan of baseball wants to see that happening. Let me know your opinion in the comment section below. Subscribe to the channel. Share the video with all your friends. Thank you to our patrons on Patreon who help support the channel. We really, really appreciate that. Don't forget to hit the notification bell. And that's all we've got. We'll talk to you later.